Seminar on learning from history, where to next, brought to you by the ITE. I'm Nick Sweet, President of the ITE-ANZ. We've got three preeminent speakers, and that's why we've pulled a big crowd. I've got a feeling that a third of the crowd is still out there wandering around trying to find the room. But we booked 150 people. That's a all-time record. Obviously, a compliment to the speakers. Thank you very much for coming today.
Well, we only had one plan that got finished, and this was a plan that John Russell wasn't supposed to do in 1837. He was given another job, and instead he took a standard colonial plan that he used in places like Maitland and Brisbane and Australia, and he ignored instructions to lay out the roads north, south, and east, west, and he used practical common sense to line up along the Yarra and the West Melbourne swamps. Since then, we've not built any plan that we've had. That's 180 years ago. I do want to explore that. So let me give you the conclusions of my talk first. Firstly, Melbourne Management, as I just said, has never had a plan particularly covering population, transport, land use and covering the foreseeable future, produced by open public and professional inputs, endorsed by key political groups. And then I think the fourth one is a key issue, running a program for its incremental implementation. So there's not only colours on a map, but dollars in the till. Providing assured funding to match the program. Ensuring that related issues such as land use, considerable plan, and external changes in the process, points of emphasis, to translate those, accommodating regular review. They all seem common sense, don't they? But we've never had that set. And even for Robert Russell, the one plan that worked didn't have the money, but it's happened anyway. So, let me go through in two halves of the talk. Firstly, I want to talk about the factors that are influencing Melbourne's roads, and then I'll do a case study and use the M1 road as a case study of what I want to talk about. I guess the transport planners have got lost getting here with late comers. Ray Brent will introduce me to the skills the transport planners don't have. The first thing we've got to remember that in 1835, Melbourne was a small port and a small river. You didn't come to Melbourne by other than a small ship. There were no roads or tracks. It was sort of the end of nowhere. And I've just talked about the 1836 Robert Russell misunderstood or deliberately misapplied a pretty standard plan, and that's how we got to the Gold's Mile of Melbourne. In 1837, however, people decided how you could make money out of this place down here. It was by land speculation, and to do it you had to sell the land. And you could only sell land you had never been, no white man had been to, by the virtual surveying of the whole country was a mile square grid. I won't go into the details of that, but that meant that we had this mile square grid over the whole of Victoria and Melbourne. It led by chance to one-chain roads because it didn't provide for any roads. The people having the land had to let people walk along their boundaries of their sections, which is a mile square grid. One bit of common sense came in 1837, 1853. Robert Hoddle tried to make sensible roads. Hoddle and Governor Latrobe to some extent had a plan. It wasn't much of a plan, but they did have a plan and a bit of a vision. But then in 1851, Victoria had a new government that became a colony, and the new colony was typical of state governments ever since. Set up a parochial select committee of roads and bridges who were concerned only with having a road and bridge to the properties that they have. And then from 1853 to 1914, rail, which captured the whole transport issues in Victoria and around the rest of the world. When I say captured the lion's share of transport, I mean 90% of expenditure on transport in those years, on the average, was spent on rail, and if you wanted your road fixed, you fixed it yourself. So that was the inheritance of those times. After the First World War, cars and motor-powered cars and cars and trucks became possible, and the guys coming back from the war could drive them. And the big impact on Melbourne's transport planning was John Monash. He's one person who had a vision. Now, he actually was running the electricity company, the SEC, but he had a vision that you need a transmission network around Melbourne, you need a ring around Melbourne. Where's the ring? It's where people sit to build a ring road. You need a radial route in, and we'll talk about some of those. You need a large land for the transmission lines. So Monash had a vision, and he enforced it, and we've had he had no interest in transport, of course, but he's one of the few people who had a vision for how big the city would be. And one of the problems with planning sense is no one's ever been able to work out, predict properly what the future size of the city would be. In 1929 we had the Metropolitan Planning Commission. It had a town plan which had many transport fantasies in it. I'll mention a few of the others, a few of its recommendations were implemented, but it was typical of plans in those days. I don't think anyone that's alive here was responsible for it. I get some later plans. I've got a few of the people in the audience who may throw things at me about, but I think the 1929 planners have gone, but they had a few interesting bits in it. And in 1934, the other good bit of thing that happened is the state government, there was a big flood in 1934, and the state government said you can't build anything below the 1934 flood limit. What a great decision for road makers and transport planners, because had all these green valleys which were open and roads were flat, good for building things in, except for private things. So Monash and the 1934 flood were a big sort of impacts. In 1946 we had South East Asia return to World War II. Notice when you look at the people who came back, that they were people who had good strategic and planning skills. And we begin, when you read the CRB reports at the time, begin seeing reserving wide non-freeway corridors in the greenfields on the fringes of the outer suburbia. So you can see an influence of people who were thinking strategically in what they did. And then we had the cities of the world by Robert Moses and Wilbur Smith that are promised land. Robert Moses was the guy who built all the roads and freeways in New York. And Wilbur Smith was a colleague consultant. The Wilbur Smith plan was basically, if you put it like we had the square mile section in the early land speculation, you put a grid of roads over any city, rectangular grid of about a mile, more than a mile apart, I think. And by having every freeway meet at right angles, your intersections were easy to make. You didn't have any problems with messed up little bits and pieces. And you just dump that grid on any city and you charge enormous amounts of money for doing so. Melbourne was one of many cities that suffered the process. And then we have the 54, the Board of Works issued the 54 Melbourne Town Plan. Included all in the city of Brisbane. If you look at what was there, Fitzroy Gardens would have been a freeway exchange down, just as one example. It was just amazing what people put forward and thought would be acceptable. Otherwise, it was too grandiose and expensive and patently inappropriate for Melbourne. And then in 1956, God looked down on the CRB and gave them the CRB Bypass Act. Again, someone strategically thought, we'll sneak that one through. It's amazing what you can bypass if you've got no one watching. But I'll come back to the Bypass Act in a moment. There's a few people who may start talking to me later on about one from now on, but the 1969 Melbourne Transport Study recorded 510 kilometres of freeway for Melbourne. We don't have a fraction of that even now. And as I said in my earlier overhead, where were they thinking that we're going to get the funds for that, let alone the ability to destroy everything that was involved in the process. And then we had Rupert Hamer to rescue. Hamer seriously, Hamer had a vision for how Melbourne would be. He had some aesthetic sense, and he had some community sense, and he saw what many other people didn't see, the nonsense of some of the plans and a few bits of wisdom. Melbourne now, and it was half a mistake. I put 21 instead of 28. Because there's no sign of it. Any of those requirements are meant to do. Who has a vision for how Melbourne's going to, how big Melbourne's going to be, how it's going to get there, how it's going to be funded, what sensible decisions have been made across the spectrum even now. And we have, you know, if you're like me, a layman sitting watching, it's like, Bob said, it's like magicians getting up on stage and they bring out the hat, oh, here's tomorrow's scheme, and here's tomorrow's scheme. But where do these schemes fit in any logical pattern today, any more than where they fit in the past? So that's my summary. That's the first half of my 10 minutes. Nick, I think, gone. I want to skip now. I picked the M1 motorway for that on the wrong side of the potential business just as an example, and I'll skip over a few parts of this, but beginning at the eastern end, the M1 is the road from Melbourne, from Dandenong to Geelong, and it bypasses Melbourne sort of thing. If you forget what the M1 was. Dandenong was in the beginning, early Melbourne, there was downtown Melbourne and there was Dandenong. Dandenong was a good spot to have cattle because there was a creek, big bed in the creek to put the cattle in. And you could see the smoke from the two towns, and so there was pretty much a straight line track from Melbourne to Dandenong, except it had to skip the swamps south of Caulfield, all those parks down in Caulfield, and all those South Melbourne swamps, Melbourne Park and everything else was. So other than that, it was a straight run, and there's a prime example of model 3-chain roads, because they were taking cattle from Dandenong to Melbourne and vice versa. It had to accommodate people driving herds of cattle and wagons, and there was lots of speculation why you picked 3-chain, but 3-chain worked around the world for people dragging herds of cattle left and right. And also looking for firm ground for the wagon. So here we had a pretty decent reservation from Dandenong to Melbourne. Better certain than many other arterial roads to be upgraded in situ. So you would have thought bits of attention might have been focused on some of the bits that needed attention before they focused on that, but nevertheless, although not in the 1954 town plan, you know, mentioning how people sort of, town plans are in one room and action is in another room completely. In 1963, the CRB was planning a bypass of Dandenong to ease, as they said in their annual report, to ease congestion of the Prince Isle East by using their magic bypass legislation. They had this powerful tool, this secret weapon that no one knew about, but it worked beautifully. And all the other priorities that might have been done, Melbourne doesn't have any bypass road north, south, east or west, but instead we were focusing on bypassing Dandenong. The route as far west as Warragul Road, then it popped up to the 1969 plan. I guess, you know, the CRB was doing it because they pop it in the plan before the road opened. That acquisition was simple, as I said, most of this land out there was greenfields. West of Honeydale Road, we covered one of John Monish's power line reservation. So John Monish provided the reservation to get into the city, not using the 3-chain wide existing road at all. And then it joined the reservation to the 1934 flood came on Garden Creek floodplain. So a nice open space there. The route from Warragul Road to the city was in both the 29 and 54 plans. So it was said there had to be some sort of road over the city. It didn't go through the South Melbourne and Caulfield swamps. But then it cut across the Dandenong Road. But the CRB obviously had grander plans. This part of the route contains Melbourne's first freeway, which ran from Hunt Road to Magnificent Bridge. The only freeway built that was in the 1954 plan. I can remember it as a young university. It was the day it opened, it was a terrible road. It was a misguided piece of road. It was congested either end. It was not working the day it opened. They should have had Robert Moses in to tell them how to monitor the city and build a proper freeway. But it was a mess. Now I skipped in there because particularly that years, living memory people, from the 1960s to 1980s, there was all that debate about M1 from the Robinson Bridge out to Warrigal Road. You remember the arterial and not that arterial and all the secret chains and so forth. Ken Ogden, where's Ken? Ken was, he's here somewhere. Ken was in the press about maybe people should make wiser decisions than they did at the time and be open about what they were doing. That was a public announcement. One of the times Ken was quite on the top, Ken, when he said it. Pretty good to listen to you, isn't it? And then if I switch to the Western for a moment, before I run out of my time, the CRB actually used its 1956 legislation to declare the entire M1 from Geelong to Colwyn through a bypass road. I think they might have been bypassing the Anarchies or the Yu-Yangs. Not quite sure if I thought it was a great idea. But in Victoria's first freeway, in fact the Melbourne bypass, it was a bypass in Werribee, and it didn't use a 1H reserve, it used a sewer reserve to float a waterway. But again, land that the road builders hadn't reserved, other people have been doing it. East of Colwyn Creek, Geelong Road, was similar to Republic's Denando Road. It was a three-change road used for cattle and mainly for sheep and bullocks on the other side, but it was a wide road. But unfortunately, it had that dismal mess of Footscray and Devington. So you could travel down on the road, you could see a bit more than on the other side of the road, why something had to be done at the end of that road. The obvious solution was to use the 1H power line reservation. Drive along as I did today, they came up to my Ocean Road. If you look up it, there's the power line. I don't know if people realised that the power lines were there before the road was there. But they followed the 1H freeway reservation.
Oh, who did that?
Okay, the Westgate, I might have missed a bit, but the Westgate Bridge opened in 1978, deposited Melbourne traffic in critical health. This is despite the fact that when the 1929 came on, people were saying something's got to be done about traffic going south of the city. There was no bypass on any four sides of the city, particularly no bypass to the south. So every plan said something got to be done, but nothing too useful was done. CRB solved the problem by building an elevated freeway from M1 to Kingsway, and it's slightly better prepared traffic on the Port Road over to 1998. But from 1960, and then we got the bit that I skipped from Kingsway, otherwise, we didn't go to the expression.